I'm DJ, and welcome to One Shot Tavern, a TTRPG podcast where we seek out new ways to tell your story through different systems and games. And today, I am joined by Emily Greymoore, creator of the Cunningfolk. Emily, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm surviving 2025 the best that I can, along with everyone else.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that in my soul.
Yeah, it's just every day. It's like I live for spite, it seems, at this point.
Yeah, that is what's fueling me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I refuse to not be happy, and if I have to be really angry while doing that, I will be, and I will be as combative as my autism and ADHD make me to be.
Hell yes. Hell yes.
So, Emily, let's talk about you first. Your profile. How did you get into the tabletop role playing game space? Like, what was your introduction?
Oh goodness. So how far back are we talking here? Like
As far as you want to go back. Some people drop down to like I was 8 years old and my dad killed me in my first ever D&D session, like that.
Yep. My first ever foray into actually TTRPGs, because I was a big MMO girl and RPG girl. Morrowind was my jam when I was young, and that fueled, I think, that fantasy need for the rest of my life. But
Scroll of a Carrion Flight.
Yeah. Bit of Neverwinter as well, I think, once upon a time, a long time ago. But my first touch point with D&D itself, I think, was 3.5.
Okay, yeah.
And that was when I was in your equivalent to college. God, how many years ago was that now? About 20 years ago. So long time. And it was a drunken fucking a friend of ours. We were there at his in his dorm, and he was like, "Hey, you want to play some D&D?" And he's like, "I've got a couple of pre-made like characters, whatever. Let's just fucking do it." And I was like, "Hell yeah!" And like before I knew it, the sun was up, and like, it was insane. I was the worst rogue. I think everything I rolled was bad. Like I got knives stuck in walls. I fell down holes. Like it was so funny. And now that I think about it, actually, like I've never been a lucky roller. I've always rolled really bad in every TTRPG. Maybe that was just like, that was the sign that I will always, no matter what game I play, roll terribly.
So heads up for anyone who plays with Emily.
Yes.
Emily has the Will Wheaton curse.
I think I do. It's bad. Now everyone, like the podcast I'm in, everyone, it's just like a running joke now. It's just like, yep. Don't worry. Emily will get all the nat ones for us. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, it's really funny because it always feels like introducing someone to Dungeons and Dragons specifically. There's this like responsibility that a game master has to make that new player feel like they have just absolutely won the show, right? But the problem is you can't do that when that player can't roll.
Yeah. It was, I think, if it wasn't for my sort of just like, I find it hilarious that I'm failing so badly kind of attitude,
right.
I think I would have not played again.
Well, here's the thing. Failure's fun, right?
Yes.
Like failure is fun, and a lot of people don't think so, and a lot of people have these power fantasies where they just have to be Hercules and they have to be immortal and everything has to go their way, and they have to think out of every combat. They have to do whatever it takes to just not fail. But that's not fun to me. I love a failure at the table.
Yes.
It's just it's real. It gives stakes, and it makes it feel like everything is a struggle. Like it feels like you are working hard for this.
And it tells good
failure's
stories,
good.
man. It tells good stories.
It tells great stories. Exactly.
And don't get me wrong, when I'm in a boss fight with the party and I have yet to do anything successfully, it does great. It does get a little bit frustrating because I'm just
Yeah.
like, I want to
Yep.
just get one hit. I just want to do something helpful. That's all, and I'm starting to get annoyed.
I feel that. I have been running the Netherdeep, Call of the Netherdeep, for a few parties for a while, and we got to the final fight, and the rival party, like some of them can go with you into this final fight.
Okay.
And I was excited because I was like, cool, I get to do some like fun heroic stuff. I don't have to just every single time one of those four characters rolled for like 15 rounds was
Ooh.
under a 10. They may as well have not even
No.
have been there.
Yeah, I'm getting flashbacks. Jesus, that's yeah.
And it's my luck too. Like, and
Single
I roll a
digits the
physical die.
entire session. Yeah, I
Like,
feel that.
oh yeah. It was like, oh well, there it goes again. Cool. And it's a good dice. It was rolling great for the bad guys.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Hi, gee, yeah.
but it's fine. So after you were introduced in whatever Europeans call college,
Yes, university.
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 That's right.
Yes.
I studied at Oxford.
I fucking
The
wish.
oldest in the world. I almost went to Oxford for
Did
a
you?
semester.
Oh, that's so
so
cool.
I couldn't afford it.
Yeah,
and
fair.
it was one of those things where it's like, so I went to a religious university because my mom was like, you got to go here, you got to be close to home. They accepted you, and I was just like, oh, fine, okay, so I'll stay close to home. I'll go to this university. Well, they have a whole thing where they like force their students to go spend a semester in another country's college. And the problem is you can't graduate without it, but you also have to pay for it yourself. And their solution was, hey, can you go and ask your local churches and neighborhood for money? I'm like, I am not going to beg for money for this.
That's a big ask. Goodness.
It really is. And I really wanted to go to Oxford
Yeah.
for one specific reason. And you might be able to guess what that specific reason was, because this was early 2010s. There was one specific student at Oxford at that time
okay.
that I really wanted to meet, and it was Emma Watson.
I was like, I feel like this is Harry Potter related. And then you were like,
absolutely
oh,
was.
there's someone. I was like, oh, maybe it's not. Oh, it is. The
so
emotional roller coaster there.
yeah. Anyways, real bummed I didn't get to go and
Right, yeah.
live my best life, but that's okay. It's all right. I did other things like music and stuff, and got real poor for a while, so it was a much better
doing the
way to
arts
go about
in
it.
any way.
Yeah,
Is gonna.
absolutely. Why did I choose it again? I don't know. So after you are introduced to 3.5, which is also where I was introduced to tabletop role playing in high school, you then moved. When was like your first experience with a non D&D
Ooh.
TTRPG?
So genuinely, I didn't play a TTRPG for a good couple of years after that, despite me enjoying it quite a lot. I just didn't have the friends in my
bandwidth.
circles that were really into it, if that made sense at the time. I moved away from that particular group and we lost contact, things like that. But it wasn't until I was maybe... Oh God, it maybe was like 7 years later. And I had a partner at the time who was really into that kind of thing. And his best friend was super into that thing. And he was a great GM. And he was like, I don't really like D&D, so I'm going to run everything else for you instead. And I was like, great. So that was really my first, like, I would say proper experience with TTRPGs that wasn't like a drunken evening that I can't really remember. But we played Deadlands. That's a fantastic game. I really enjoyed Deadlands. Seventh Sea we played a lot of as well, which was interesting. But the indie TTRPGs, it wasn't until sort of like the last few years when I got really into the indie scene, and even got into D&D 5, like D&D 5e that was only
Right.
like 2-3 years ago that I started
Oh
kind of
wow.
like getting back into that, when it was when I met Patrick and I got involved with the podcast and like the whole
Yep.
thing. So yeah, really the last like 3-4 years has been heavily TTRPG focused for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's fair, right? Because like for a lot of people around, like between your age, my age, all that is like 3.5, no fourth edition, just
Yeah,
straight
skip
into
that.
Pathfinder. Just be like, all right, I want to keep the exact same. We have a habit of doing this where we don't want rules to change, so we make something else. And so that was Pathfinder, and then like we played Pathfinder for years, and then
Haven't
Critical
actually
Role
played
happened.
Pathfinder yet. It
You
scares
played
me.
3.5. It's so similar. It's not the same, but it's so similar.
Listen, I can't
Um,
remember playing 3.5, so
Crunchy. It's so
like,
crunchy. Um,
I was being fully led by the hand the entire experience, I think.
it was a seamless transition for me.
Nice.
I mean, I was still pretty new at the time to like TTRPGs, so like for me I was like, "Oh, I don't really even notice a difference," right? Although there was annoying things like to change your weapon was a whole ass action.
Oi. Oi.
You
Yeah.
can't drop your weapon. You have to have a cord tied to it.
Yep.
And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. And oh my God, rolling to confirm your critical.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh my God, the worst
Well, I obviously didn't
thing.
roll a crit, so.
But other people around you did. Uh, well, I mean, I remember getting that first natural 20.
Oh, I bet that was like tasty.
And I was just like, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
This is great. And he's like, Andrew was like, hold up. I'm going to need you to roll to see if you hit again to confirm the crit. And I'm like, but I got a natural 20. And it doesn't matter. Okay, fine. Roll to confirm the crit. Miss. It's just a regular hit. And I'm just like, this is stupid. Then
That
fifth
sucks
edition came
so
along.
bad. Yeah. I didn't realize that was a thing. Oh my god.
Oh, it was painful.
Yeah.
And then fifth edition rolled around, and all of a sudden things were like, it was 3.5 or Pathfinder, but like with all that extra baggage that prevented you from role playing,
Yeah.
right? And having fun and having flavor.
Yep. All the good stuff
yeah.
about it, actually.
All the good
you know?
stuff
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Otherwise,
and
like,
that was
bitch, I would just play Warhammer if this is what I wanted
Yeah.
to do. You know what I mean?
Exactly. If I want to struggle for
Yep.
hours on end, I'm gonna do a strategy game.
Yep.
I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons because I want to talk with my friends and have
Yep.
fun.
Funny that.
But yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the podcast.
Yes.
Tell me about the podcast. Tell me. So how long have you been? A part of that. Like,
Ooh,
what's?
So
I listen to it, but for the listeners to understand, please
yeah,
give
sure.
your
Firstly,
little
thank
spiel.
you for listening to the
course.
podcast. So our podcast is called Unbalanced Encounters, and it's been going for nearly 3 years, from sort of like birth to we've just finished the like at the beginning of 2025 we finished the campaign, basically.
Yeah.
We did
Yep.
a very long campaign with 4 players, and it was a fucking trip. It was incredible experience. I've never
Yeah.
played a long form campaign like that before, and when I met Patrick and I said I'd never done one, he's like, well, I'm going to do one for you. And he basically, bless his heart, this is how you get a girlfriend and then a wife, ladies and gents. You run them a very long campaign. Yep. So we're married now.
That's amazing.
It's been a crazy experience, but we learned a lot through doing that. We learned that it's doing that as a podcast is very time consuming. It's unsustainable because you have to make sure everyone is free, every
3
week
years.
for like 3 years, and that's a lot. And then having to edit each one of those
God.
every week, so it was like a constant churn. And bless Patrick was doing all of that back of house work, and he was really burning out. So we now moving into this year, we're releasing all of our bonus content from our oh my god, not Kickstarter, I've got that on the brain at the moment, from our Patreon, while we start doing the next sort of season. And this season, we're kind
Yeah.
of taking it a lot more from the Dimension 20 of like, 6 episodes on average per sort of like
Yeah.
story, and sort of telling a lot more stories with a bigger cast. We did a whole lot of auditions and things over the last year to get everyone ready for this year. And we're going into recording next week, and that's very
Nice.
exciting. So it's going to be, yeah, it's a lot. So now we're going to be able to do it on a much more sustainable kind of like,
That's awesome.
yeah, and it's a lot more accessible for people to be like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to dive into something that's 3 years long. Um, this though
Yeah.
is 6 episodes, and I'm okay with giving that kind of amount of commitment. So I think it'll be nicer chunks, and it'll be more interesting because there'll be different stories and different characters. So yeah, that's the plan. But we're moving away from D&D. So we did D&D explicitly for the last 2 years. But now we're moving on to Tales of the Valiant for the first sort of like story that we're doing, because it's a kind of a sidestep without sort of like having to worry about what's and all that kind of thing. And it's easy for us to kind of move over to and understand, and for our listeners to kind of not feel like it's completely different.
Yeah.
But we're very excited to try so many different TTRPGs. So depending on the story we want to tell, we're going to handpick a TTRPG that works well for that story. And I'm very excited to
No,
to
absolutely.
dig in.
So yeah, I mean, it's funny because like I dipped my toes into the actual play scene for a second, and by second I mean it was like 6 months.
I mean, that's still a chunk of time.
It was a lot. We did like 12 episodes in that time.
That's good.
But it was for Cypher System, and some of the listeners, some of the listeners only listen to that, and then some of the listeners only listen to the interview portion of the podcast.
Oh, interesting.
But it was fun. I would love to do it again. I need a producer. We just need a producer in general.
Like when I say we've like not just recruited cast, we have recruited so many back of house. Just to like, we need help. And producers are like, Sabrina, if you're listening to this, they're a godsend. They're just like, I don't know how we'd manage without them.
Yep. Well, and it's funny because like the things I need a producer for are so simple. It's just my ADHD and stuff. It's the executive dysfunction stuff that like I don't have the energy to do. I don't want to edit. And like we do a pretty unedited format for a lot of things. And so like I don't want to do the small edits where I'm like scrolling through and stuff. And I very specifically would love somebody to do all of the emailing and scheduling for me.
That's the biggest beast, and that
I just need someone to tell me what to do, because I'm capable of it. I just need to be told. So yeah.
I feel that.
So if you're listening and you're like, oh, when are we gonna get Eye of the Tyrant season 2? I'll tell you. The moment I find a great person willing to do my editing, I'm on top of it. Until then, enjoy the interviews that you're receiving and be grateful. No, I'm kidding. You've done Unbalanced Encounters for some time now. You guys have you're branching off into new and exciting TTRPGs. It's really funny. Our journey kind of started with Cypher System after we left 5th edition. I didn't leave 5th edition. I'm a game master for hire. I kind of have to run 5th edition.
Sure.
But where I started to really have fun again was Cypher System.
Interesting. I don't think I've played the Cypher System of all the ones.
You gotta. I'll run it for you.
Okay, cool. Deal.
I'm always offering, and I never do it, but I will do it.
Nice.
Because I think that it's a system a lot of people need to get their hands on. And the reason why is because it takes the simplification that 5th edition started from 3.5, and then they take it a step further to a little bit more simple.
Okay.
And so rolling is a little bit easier. So like if you're a bad roller, you're not screwed.
Good. I like to hear that.
It's a resource-based system where like, you have your might, intellect, speed. Those are like your stats. And it's also your HP. And
Nice.
so like you might have 15 intelligence and 10 strength and like 20 speed. And what you're doing is you're actually spending bits of those to
Mm-hmm.
make the roll easier. So
I
it's
like that.
like, oh, I'd like to use effort. And so it's like the old thing where people are like, I want to use my HP as a spell slot because I'm out of spell slots. Not built for that,
Uh,
right? Fifth
yeah.
edition's not built for
Nope.
that.
Nope.
Cypher system is built for that because that's how everything works. And so everything's in difficulties. So like it's a difficulty 5. That means you have to roll 15 or higher because the difficulty times 3
Interesting.
is what you need to roll.
Okay.
And so it's like I would like to spend one effort and lower that to a difficulty 4, 12 or higher. See, super simple, super easy. We'll I'll get you playing it. It'll be
Yeah,
great.
that sounds great.
I've been meaning to do like a pink security and more stream. And just talking to people in the community and be like, hey, do you want to do this? And it's like, I keep putting so much on my plate.
Yep. I have
So
a
yeah.
habit of doing that too, so
Uh,
I feel that.
what are your favorites in the indie TTRPGs that you've played over the past couple of
Ooh,
years? I know it's a hard question because there's so many
yeah,
really good ones.
yeah. I haven't played nearly as many as I want to play. I obviously like that's always the curse, isn't it? There's so many and not enough time to play them all. Um, I recently started playing Kids on Bikes, so I'm doing
Kids on
that
Bikes, great,
for
yeah.
a stream. Yeah, for Rediscovery. Every Wednesday we're doing a stream on for Kids on Bikes, and it's the first time I've played that, and I've really been enjoying it. I actually really
Mm.
like the system for that. Really simple, like just
Yep.
I love me a non-crunchy TTRPG.
Yeah.
I like it's weird because I sit in this like sweet spot of like I don't want it where there's absolutely no framework whatsoever. But then I don't like it Pathfinder adjacent, you know?
Yep.
So I need to have
You want that perfect balance between rules
yeah,
that guide you
yeah,
and having the freedom to make the decisions
exactly.
that you want
That's one of the
narratively. I
reasons
get
why
it.
I love sort of the Monster of the Week and the
Yeah.
Apocalypse System games.
Yep.
They hit that sweet spot for me. So it's very much
Absolutely.
that kind of like you
You
have
would love
these
Cypher.
things that kind of can really guide some really interesting
Yeah.
storytelling. But you're not sort of like, am I 5 feet away? Do I then have 3 actions and then blah. Um,
Yep. Yep.
I hate the combat system in D&D. I hate it so much. And Patrick knows this. It's like the
Yeah.
one place I suffer that like I suck in combat. Like cuz I'm just
Yep.
like, I don't know what to do. Like,
You know, that's
it's overwhelming.
yeah. And that's completely fine and normal, right? Like D&D, people are like, "Oh, it's more of a battle simulator." I'm
It
like, "Well, it's
is.
terrible. It's terrible as a battle simulator."
I mean that too.
Um,
It is
the
also.
people who say there's like no tools for role playing, I was just like, you don't really need tools to role play.
No.
Your general skill checks are the tools to role play,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that D&D is just more fun when you're talking the whole time with maybe one battle a session,
Yeah.
as opposed to the classic 3 battles per session
Like
and
constant
you know,
battles and leveling up.
constant
and
battles all the time, kill everything. And I'm
Yep.
just like, maybe not. Like, but also sometimes, but like most of the time, no.
Listen, if people are into that, like that kind of whole like Wizard's Tower play,
Right,
you
yeah.
know, like if
Yep.
they want to do that Souls-like experience, then like go for it. Like that's cool. And
Good on
sometimes
them.
that could
Play
be
Shadow
really
Dark.
fun if that's what you know you're going into. You just want to see how long you can survive. But
Yeah.
like if you're doing it for a longer period and you want to kind of really connect with the character,
Yeah.
the other players, then you got to leave room. Like you can't just
Oh,
have
yeah.
combat. It
Yep.
gets repetitive real quick. Magic missile,
Yeah.
magic missile.
Listen, I'll say that anybody who's listening to this and they really like, they're like, oh, I really want that experience. There are better systems for it. I just mentioned Shadow Dark. Play Shadow Dark. DCC Dungeon Crawler Classics. Better for that. Do that. D&D. It's a little too straightforward for me. but also a little too like repetitive, as you said.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
creativity isn't there. Whereas something like the Powered by the Apocalypse systems or Kids on Bikes, like the actions you can take in a conflict situation, right? And I want to say a combat situation because it's really just conflict
Yeah.
situations. It can range in what you're doing. And Cipher system. It's up to your imagination on how you'd like to do things, how creative you want to get with it,
Yeah.
and that is fun.
And what skill you want to leverage for that thing. Like if you can argue
Yeah,
the point of like I'm using my brains instead of brawn to like leverage
yeah,
this heavy thing over, like you can
exactly.
do that instead of being like, no, it's an agility check.
Yep. It's just an agility check. Oh,
Yeah,
yep.
great.
What's your speed? Oh, cool. All right.
Fun,
I'm really
thanks.
bad at that. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's what the rules say.
Oh, look, I
Uh,
rolled badly again. Okay.
yep. Great. That really cool thing I just narrated didn't happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's rough, you know. You want the freedom to do cool stuff while also the challenge to still have failures that are fun. And D&D doesn't offer it very often. So TTRPGs, you've played a few. I highly recommend Cypher System. Have you played Perils and Princesses at all?
Oh, I have. Yes.
Yeah.
Ryan is a
Okay.
great, like, I
Yep.
love Ryan to death.
Amazing
Met
person.
them in at Gen Con for the first time. We've been chatting for ages before then. And I was like, I have to meet you at Gen Con. So, and he actually ran a
Yep.
game for us while we were there.
Fantastic.
And I love it. I love it. I've got a book as well. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't bring that. Again, that's
Yeah.
a really nice sweet spot. Perils of
Exactly.
Princesses.
It's
Yeah.
it's simple, but like it gives you the rules. It's fun, which it's that's what matters as long as people are having fun. But like it's such a well designed system. All right, so you are here for a very specific reason.
Oh,
You are refunding, not refunding, but like you are funding again.
well,
For
this is the first time I'm funding the
Oh,
Cunning
this is the
folk.
first time you're funding.
Yes,
Oh, okay,
yes.
gotcha. I thought you had done a Kickstarter before.
Now,
Okay, gotcha. So this is the first fund. This is the
the
physical
first.
release
Yes, yes.
of the Cunningfolk. Tell me about the Cunningfolk and the whole sales pitch for that.
Speaking of sweet spot games, the
Yeah,
Cunning Folk I wrote specifically in that sweet spot. So it gives you a little bit of a framework, but it also lets you just be as creative as your devious little mind
yeah,
can conjure. So the Cunning Folk is a game where you get to be the little creatures of myth and fable from fairy tales and folklore. You get to be Rumpelstiltskin. You get to be like the fae that steal children away, or whatever it is. You get to be Maleficent if you want to
yeah,
do that. The creature under the bed. Because I was so sick and tired of every game that came out that was folklore adjacent or like myth and legend adjacent. It was you were hunting the creatures. You are finding them
yeah,
and dispatching them in some way. And I'm like, these creatures are so cool. These beings are so badass. I want to be these things instead of having to find them and kill them. Like, I
yeah,
love you, Monster of the Week, but I want to be the monster this week.
yeah. Absolutely.
Right? So that's why I designed this game. So the whole aim of this game is that you're pissed off, a human annoyed you. It could be really petty. It could be major. They could have killed your family. They could have just looked at you funny. Whatever it is, you want to get revenge. You're not going to let this slight stand. So you are basically through mischief, luck, magic are going to find them and make their lives miserable. In
Yeah,
whatever way you want. And it could be like humored, it can be incredibly grimdark, however you want to play it. It's the game for you. I love it to death, and I think
yeah.
the favorite thing about it is that you can level up and down throughout the
Oh,
game.
nice. Yeah,
It's a really fun mechanic because like the whole thing about sort of like the Fae is like they generally don't like to be seen.
right.
And so while you're kind of going about your mischief and making lives miserable, you're trying to do that without being seen. So this, I you have 5 levels. First level, you're very small. The 5th level, you're a big beastie. You're like a Wendigo size monster. The bigger you are, the more magic and the more powerful you are, but the more likely you are to be seen. It's hard not to spot something that's 12 foot roaming around a village, you know. But when you're smaller, you have a little bit less magic, a little bit less power, but you can do so much more mischievous stuff because you're a lot less likely to be seen. So the game basically rewards you whatever level you're at. And in a party, it's great to have a mixture of levels throughout. And depending on how well your mischief goes, like you kind of fluctuate throughout.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a great, funny game. I think every time I've seen it played, my face hurts from laughing. So
That's always good.
it's so good.
So what kind of system is this? What kind of dice are we using? What kind of actions are we taking?
Yeah, this is a made-to-fit system that I created for it. It's just a D6 system. Really fucking simple. Whenever you are doing any magic or doing any mischief, you just roll your dice pool, and your dice pool grows and shrinks as you do as well.
Oh,
so if you're level 1,
yeah.
you have 1d6. Level 5, you've got 5d6. And
okay, cool.
the GM will say, okay, that thing you're trying to attempt, if it's mischief, is, I don't know, 2 successes. So if you're level 2, you'll roll your 2 dice, and if it's 4, 5, 6, it's a success, and then you can kind of like play out. And depending on whether you fail, succeed, or over succeed, depends on the outcome and the level up, level down. So,
Gotcha.
but yeah, really simple.
Yeah,
and magic is the same as well.
very fun.
Yeah.
What's your goal for the Kickstarter? Like your initial goal and oh boy, this would be amazing.
Oh man, I'm still working out the maths. So but like emotional goals, let's say, is I just want to have enough to fund the first physical print run. I've spoken to IPR and they're really excited to have the game in stock, which is really cool. So I just basically need enough to give them the amount they need, which would be fantastic. And then I can start getting it at conventions, start getting it out to retailers. Like I would love, I just want, like, I got the prototype.
Yeah, no, I saw that on TikTok.
And it's just like seeing it physically in my hands and seeing how cool it looks in person.
Yep. It's gorgeous. For those listening, it's
sorry,
very
there's no camera.
beautiful. Well, for YouTube, this will be up, but
there you go.
most of the listeners are podcasts. It is a wonderful drawing of the various animals and stuff. It's great. I love the size format that you've chosen.
Thank you.
Everyone
I wanted to go square.
Yeah.
I felt square felt right. I don't know why.
Feels like a story.
Yes.
So,
exactly.
You look at I don't have one nearby. Normally I do. The 5.5 by 8.5, zine style feels like a little book. Then there's of course the big 8.5 by 11s. Not like those are basically the two sizes that everyone does for everything.
Yeah.
So like to have a square book where it's unique and like for the subject matter it feels appropriate because it's got this storybook feel to it, like a book you would read to a child before bed, a fairy tale, so to speak.
I mean, if I could get, like, listen, if this pops off and for some reason I end up with so much money, I mean, I doubt it after all the fees, but my dream, like blue sky scenario, would be to have a hardback copy created with that kind of like with the embossed, like very like Hans Christian Andersen sort of like style front cover. Yeah, that's my dream.
Oh yeah. Well, if you can't do that, at least if you're like if that's out of reach,
A little
There's
bit. It might
always
be a limited
the book
edition
jacket.
run. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
could do a book jacket.
Book jacket, like that's how a lot of those are done,
Yeah,
right?
that's a good
Is like they
point.
do an embossed book jacket,
Mm,
much cheaper. They just print it off. You might have to put them on yourself, but
that's
good
now
idea.
that's thinking.
Yeah.
That's yeah, pretty good.
Fantastic. It's funny because when I did my first crowdfund with Pink Security and more, I was like, I was throwing everything at the wall, and I was like, oh yeah, I've got pens, I've got patches, and these were all things I was coming up with during the campaign, which was a terrible idea. Don't do that.
Yeah, no,
Just
no,
yeah,
no. I've got
have
one
it.
extra thing that I'll tell you about in a
Yep.
minute, but go for it.
Just if the campaign started or it's like 2 weeks away, it's probably too late.
Yeah.
Is the
There's
big
a
thing.
lot of logistics that goes into this, boys and girls.
Absolutely. Things are expensive to
Yep.
make. And so, Andrew talks about how he lost a bunch of money on making the tarot card
Oh
decks
yeah, I can
for Battle
imagine.
School
Yeah.
because he priced them out. And then by the time he went to order them, like something was wrong with what he had quoted. And it's like, oh no. So this time around, what I'm doing for my next project is you're getting a book. You're getting a perfect bound book that's
That's
in
it.
color, and you're gonna
Yep.
like it because the message of the book's far more important
Yep.
than any fun collectible.
And who
Sorry,
cares about
people.
sticker? It's fine.
Yep.
Don't worry
I
about
don't
it.
care if I raise $100,000. All you're getting is a damn book.
Honestly, yes. I'm so scared of doing anything for stretch goals. You have no
Yeah.
idea.
Well, because you're like, is it going to be financially advantageous for you to include this?
Yeah.
Right? Is it going to hurt you? Because you probably would have hit the stretch goal regardless. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a few people who will only buy things with good stretch goals. That's not most people backing things on Kickstarter
Yeah.
because most people backing things on Kickstarter are going for, deluxe covers or physical editions, and that's really it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
tell me about the extra thing that you are including.
The one extra thing that I'm doing, I'm really excited about. So Rossi does drawings on Blue Sky Instagram. I don't know if you know them,
I
but
do not.
they do the most wonderful little gremlin, goblin-esque like illustrations I have ever seen. It's such a vibe. So please check them out if you're listening to this. It's Rossi Does Drawings. I'm pretty sure they're on most platforms. They have a Patreon as well, so go hit them up on their Patreon. But they are going to be doing for me, I'm so excited. They're going to be creating their own character. They're going to be making a folk with the game, and they're going to be
Nice.
doing the illustrations of the 5 evolutions of their character. And I'm going to be having that as an art print for
That's
one
awesome.
of the tiers. Yeah, so I'm really
Yeah.
excited about that. It's going to be really cute.
Feels like what's the word I'm looking for? Like, nature drawing, and this is like that diagram that you would see in the background of some professors
Yeah. It's
study.
gonna be really cool.
Yeah.
Just to inspire people of like, hey, this is the kind of character you can make.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, yeah,
And
it's gonna be really cool.
give something nice that reminds them, like, they're they put it up on the wall. It's like, oh, there it is. Like,
And also, it's something in color because everything I have is black and white, baby. So if you want something with a bit of color in it, that's the tier for you.
Absolutely. Listen, there's nothing wrong with black and white.
I mean, it fits the vibe for me, and I'm happy. But
Yeah,
I liked having that.
and it works. I wish I would stop picking projects or making projects that require there to be color, because I just keep doing that. Pink Security and More was like very much about vibrance and like embracing like this femininity and like this beautiful junky diverse world. It cost me a lot of money on the art end because of it.
Oh yeah.
Like I didn't like go broke on it. Like I was able to pay for the book and break even and all that fun stuff. But like this next one with Resistance is Required, it's like, oh cool. It's this super like hyper punk aesthetic. which requires a whole lot of chaotic colors everywhere.
And even the printing of all of those chaotic colors afterwards is another expense. So
it's like an extra $2 a book.
yeah,
Uh,
that's a lot. That's a lot.
yeah, you know, you print 100 books. That's $200 extra that you spent.
Yeah.
So maybe my third project will be something that I can just say this is black and white. You know, but so do you have any idea when this is going live?
Yeah, so I did want it to get it in for Zine Month and Zine Quest and things like that, but it was just too tight of a turnaround. But I do have the pre-launch starting on the 28th of February.
Technically Zine month.
Technically. Kat the Law Mistress is doing a stream for the launch of that, which is going to be awesome. So hopefully I'll have lots of people signing up just to be notified, and it should go live about a week or so after that. So early March,
Fantastic.
early mid-March is when it's going to go live. But
if you're listening to this, it's probably pre-launch up.
Yes.
And by the time you're listening to this, and that means that this will probably be on the 3rd, I'm thinking. So
Nice.
we'll make sure to have all the links for that down below.
Amazing. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. It's if you want to know a little bit, I should have. So basically, I'm just working 24/7 on the trailer for this beast right now. I've got all the lines recorded. I had a friend of mine, Nick, bless him. He's a delightful dungeon diving. He did the most amazing gremlin voice for me for some of this trailer. So check him out if you want some cool voices done for any of your projects. He's fantastic. But yeah, so I'm now just like illustrating like a crazy person, just trying to get just like the storyboarding done for this thing, and then it'll be right and it'll be ready. Yes, go check it out. And if you have any questions about it or want to know more about it, then you can find me on Blue Sky.
It's the best place to find anybody.
Yeah, because the rest of social media is a mess. So
it really is.
Yep.
I had like deactivated my Facebook and stuff.
Yeah,
because I was annoyed with them.
Yep.
And then I was like, crap. I have to run meta ads for my Kickstarter. And because I have to run meta ads for my Kickstarter, I have to reopen my Facebook, go into the Facebook page, all that stupid stuff.
Ooh.
And so like I hop back onto Threads, and I'm far more popular on Threads than I am anywhere else, which is really annoying because like I hate Facebook. And it's like I'm like looking at it, I'm like, about the same amount of followers, but instead it's like you had 12,000 likes on this and everyone in the world is yelling at you, and I'm like, great. I thrive on it. But then I go over to Blue Sky where I am safer.
It's just a nicer vibe over there, I'll be honest.
It's so chill. The problem is not as much interaction with me. And so like I have to like find that audience, because I have my personal stuff, it's like either talking about game I'm making or podcast, or I'm talking about everything that is making me so mad right now.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're complaining out in the world, you really do want somebody to hear it, whether or not they're gonna, do anything about it or not.
Shout into the void a little bit and just, I agree.
But when I make TTRPG posts, Blue Sky pops off.
Yay, there it is.
So it is still my favorite social media. So absolutely. What's the handle they can find you under on Blue Sky?
At Emily Greymoore. Spelt the English way, Greymoore.
I don't know what that means. Oh.
Moore.
The wrong way. Emily Greymoore. Greymoore. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. No. And then, of course, you can find the podcast under Unbalanced Encounters.
Yes.
And you can find all of these links down below for the Kickstarter and all of that fun stuff. Make sure you support the project, the Cunningfolk. It looks gorgeous, and I'm excited to back it myself. Emily, what parting words do you have for our viewers here?
Oh
What would
my
you like to
goodness.
say? It could be whatever you want. You know,
Go cause some mischief.
absolutely.
That's
Please,
it. That's it.
everyone, take some time out of your day. Go cause some mischief.
Yeah, go
If
go
you could-
make some mischief. Just I think it's time for mischief.
Yeah,
Just
it is a time for mischief. You know,
Yeah.
legal mischief.
nah, not legal. Do whatever mischief you want. It's fine.
Listen, I don't have the
Endorsed by
risk of being able to be I don't have the risk of being able to be deported back home. For me, if
right,
I
fine.
get in trouble, bad things
True,
happen.
I could also be deported if I do too much mischief. So I will also be a little bit careful. All right.
Hopefully, yeah, that doesn't happen because you know, it's we're glad to have you here
you.
in the TTRPG space. Everyone, please go out, check out the Cunningfolk, cause as much mischief as you feel comfortable causing.
Yay.
And tune in next time to One Shots Tavern. I'm DJ, and thank you so much for listening. You all have a wonderful rest of your week, and check out oneshotstavern.com for all of our links, merch, and whatever else you would like to find. And of course, guest links are down below. Emily, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having
Hopefully
me.
we'll have you on again. I'll get you playing Cypher System in
Hell
no
yeah.
time.
Sounds great.